There we go. Okay, so welcome everyone to the MVC2 and MVC3 feature kickoff. Today we're just going to get synced as a team on what we're going to work on for those two, on what we think the timelines might be. Even if we're not accurate, we're just going to take a guess at the start. And we really want engineering's input on everything in those MVCs so that we're clear on that, just it's been looked at over, if we're missing anything, if we've got the order right, or if there's any gotchas in there. The agenda is open, so anyone can put anything on it. Feel free to say anything as well, speak your mind. Now's the time to sort of get alignment around these things. And I definitely don't want to overcommit the team or push for too much. We want to make sure that we have a good pace that we can handle. But super high level goal, if we could have it out to the world by 14.0, that would mean that a lot of our customers who only download the .0 releases would get to use Epic boards for the whole next year. If we come out in 14.1, then a lot of our customers won't have them for a while. So that this is big enough that it would be awesome if we could deprioritize other things and try to make sure we hit that, but it's not the end of the world if we don't.
That's
Are there
really
a lot
good
of
context.
users?
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Are there a lot of users that only download the .0 releases?
On self-managed, yes. And so that's why you'll see right now there's a big push for deprecations as well. For any breaking changes, we're going to start highlighting those now in the release post, because some of our customers, if they don't get it in 14.0, like when they rolled out feature flags, they missed it and hit 14.1, I believe. Then they had to support 2 APIs, a legacy, and for the whole next year for most of our customers. So it's a really big deal in the .0 releases. All right, so that's the high level context about wanting to get clear on the end date. And if we miss it, we'll just be really clear with our team, with our customers, what's happening instead. So we shouldn't feel undue pressure on that. It's just, it would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, so we may want to go about, so 14.0 gives us 2 milestones to complete stuff then. So maybe as we go through kind of the jobs to be done, we can, instead of going 14.0 backwards, we can go where we're currently at forwards and just determine like what we can actually get done in what we think we can get done in 2 milestones. And then that'll kind of be the cutoff of what we determine as essentially being the, for this feature, the 1.0 release. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. That makes sense to me.
So it's sort of capacity rather than deadline driven.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, and so I'm gonna just open up one of these epics here, just so we've got it. I might share my screen here as well, so we are all looking at the same thing. Although I know we don't like doing that at GitLab, but I'm gonna just, for the sake of being on the same
Great
page.
for context and efficiency.
Okay, so I've got the epics open. We can close this one, I believe, right? As it's going live.
Yeah, the filtering is still, I think that should the filtering come out of MVC1 because it was decided to hide the filter bar for MVC1?
Sure, yeah.
But should it go into MVC2 instead? Okay.
Let's pull that down there right now. So I'll just grab it. I hope this drag and drop lets me go top to bottom. Sometimes you get into a sub and you can't get out of it. Hold on, let me scroll down.
I think you're too low now. You need to go back up.
Oh, there it is. MVC2 at the bottom there. I see it.
Why is it reordering?
There we go. Oop. Okay, I think that's it there.
That's it. Right.
It's opened everything. Yeah.
It's opened now everything.
It's annoying. I think that needs a pause of like a couple seconds or 1 second for it to open, and then that would fix it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, let's create an issue. If there's
a delay.
Yeah, we need a delay before we open a sub epic.
Just a slight one. Okay, so we've got that moved down. So that would mean the rollout, and then there's this design review.
The design review should have already been done. Like I know that Alexis created this issue, but there's like in the end, I fixed it even before we actually put all the details in the issue. So
Great.
Because we had a meeting about what needed to be polished for MVC1, and then I fixed it right after the meeting, basically, and it's already merged. So
yeah, you can close that, and then I left a comment, I think, Flori, but anything else we can follow up on, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but like the important stuff that we wanted to polish before started, like I know we talked about it earlier today, like to turn it on GitLab or I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like these were things that needed to be polished or removed or whatever. It should be good now. So
Awesome. Okay, so if I refresh this, we've got just the rollout, which is in flight right now as well. It's already gone to staging and up to production, right? The rollout?
Well, the rollout is turning it on by default, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be
Yeah. So it's. Sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
Well, you can go, but what I was going to say is I don't think we want to turn it on by default just yet. We'll turn it on by default after MVC3.
Yes.
Now we're going to turn it on. So this, I don't know why this is in MVC1 per se. Like for me, this rollout goes like when all the MVC are finished, like at the end, and we try it wherever we want to try it, and then we can roll it out.
I suppose if there are enough people who are chomping at the bit for it, we could possibly do it. That's up to you, Kristen. But if you feel like now's not the time, let's punt it.
Right. I think that this would be at the MVC level, it might be enabling it on specific projects for our customers, like one that Donald already got a ping on, or for our own project, but not, you're right, not the whole rollout for everybody. So let's move this
double checking
one
the feature
down.
flag, feature flag docs, because I think we, I'm trying to figure out whether the rollout issue that we specify is for, I think it's for when it's on default, and when we remove the flag, I think, or maybe that was the. I just want to double check that feature flag issue, was that specifically for putting it on default and rolling it out for everyone, or that removing the feature flag altogether? Because both of those are very similar things.
There's multiple steps. I think it's like you turn it on by default first everywhere, and then you delete it. Like it's like there's multiple steps in there, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to add to-do item to just clarify that.
Yeah, it's using the feature flag template, just with a bit of a different title. And that template, when this was created, those typically aren't closed out until it is actually even removed from code, is when those technically should be closed out.
Okay, so I've put a to-do item in the agenda for that.
So in the case that we are going to hit 14.0, as we're coming into the end of 14.0, we'll be doing this, and we'll make sure it's defaulted to on for everyone. So when that release post goes out and it's like saying, hopefully we'll even have the primary spot on the release post will be one of the headline features that will all be on for our customers then.
Okay. So this one can have a milestone of like 14.0 maybe?
Yeah, it's in 13.10. So let's punt this out at least to 14.0, and maybe we could bring it in if we get fast for some reason, but let's just push it along for now.
Great.
So if we refresh this, we should have everything done then in MVC1. Yep. So I can close this epic and say that one's done. So thank you everyone for that. Woohoo!
Hey, with that, so awesome job, everyone. Before we get too deep into MVC 2 and 3, I am going to, well, does anyone have any objections to me turning on the Epic Board's feature flag for GitLab org right now?
I don't.
No, I think it's great.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Let's get it out there.
Yes.
Get that feedback.
Push the button. He's gonna push it.
Need a big launch button.
Yes.
Yeah. Flory or Charlie, do you all want to
Give
push
them
that
the
button?
honors.
Or maybe, maybe maybe merging the released post MR will be a good one for you to, it's kind of like, what is it? What do we used to do? Like printing out a piece of code and then throwing it in the fire, being like, done with this code, done with the refactor.
I don't think I've ever burned a printout of code. That's seriously like a physical therapy type thing.
It is quite therapeutic.
I love it. Once we have real time, this will be super nice, eh?
Yeah. All right, I closed the epic too, so that's donezo.
Donezo, I love it.
Donezo. Okay. Now we've got, so let me just check the agenda again. I don't want to make sure I'm skipping
It's
anything.
empty,
So
sad cursor puck.
so the theme, the job to be done around that first one was the least we could do to let them create and view epics on a board. It gets a little more fuzzy as we get into 2 and 3 in terms of the theme, but ideally we want to be able to tell them something like what I put in the title, like you can reorder and edit them in MVC2, and then the final will have everything. These themes aren't set in stone, so if we need to edit this, like filter and reorder or something like that, we can do it. This gives clarity to our customers about kind of what they're getting in that next chunk of features, and realizing it's only a part of the whole that's going to come in when the whole epic is completed. We can also we can take another break in there and create a fourth epic if we need it. So that's the other thing, is if there's like something like we want to just do filter and sort or something like that, and then have one just for editing, we could do that. So this is fluid. If it looks right to the team, then we can leave as is. If you want to make modifications now.
Okay, I have input on that because I think we're missing a couple things. Whether it's MVC2 or MVC3, I don't know. So we have the reorder of epics. We're missing the reorder of lists.
Thank you for taking notes here.
Yeah, no worries.
Reorder of lists.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw it.
Is that when you drag
issues afterwards?
You drag the whole column? Is that what you mean? Like where you take
it? It's when you, dragging the whole
Okay.
column. Like I couldn't find an issue on that. I think we missed that. I left a comment in the backend issue that exposed hide, open, and close columns.
Oh, yes.
So they are currently exposed. So we closed the issue, but they are not taken into account when the lists are being returned. They are still always returning open and closed columns, even when those are set to true. And I think that would be a back-end issue.
Yes.
To not return those. We know about it, but I think we need an issue for it because I don't think we have one.
I'll create that.
Yeah. And last point that I actually just thought about this morning, we also do not have an issue about the sidebar. Like when clicking on an epic, like currently it does nothing to click on an epic unless you click on click on the link itself and it goes to the epic. If you click on the card, it highlights it but does nothing. So we need to have a sidebar in there, I think. And that's it. I think that's the 3 things that I think are not captured in there.
Great.
Now, do any of those make sense if we were to put them in this framework? Would those make sense to go down into MVC3 so we have a bit more time to weight them and get them set up?
Yeah,
or are they blockers?
Sidebar in MVC3. Hide and close columns I would put like as a fast follow because the options are available currently already. So basically we're going to release MVC1 and people are going to be able to tick that, and it's not working.
Yeah, I would also concur with that being quickly because it can actually slow things down considerably, giving, returning things we don't need. So for performance.
Yeah, and especially like returning, it's good for performance to hide the open column, for example, because there's usually a lot
huge
in there. Reorder of lists, I'm not set on it. Like in terms of theme, I think it would fit in MVC2, but I don't think there's an urgency on that. So whatever.
Okay. So these, yeah, I'll start with this one probably in MVC3, but we would need, or MVC2, but we would need to see how big that ends up being. And then for MV or hiding, open and close, did you, sorry, which one did you say for that? I missed. Does it make more sense in 2 or 3?
This one,
yeah,
this,
MVC2, like we should do
yeah.
it as soon as possible.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's not super user impactful, except for the fact that it will be faster.
Right, the load times.
Yeah.
Yeah, what bothers me is that the options are already visible and they're not taken into account, basically.
Yes, agreed.
It looks like that's actually, if you look at issue, allow users to edit and manage an existing Epic board, would it be that one?
We could put it in there, but I don't want to put too much in one. This is mostly about editing board scope. And I've already, so because of the way the board scope is managed on the front end, it also impacts create board already. There's already a lot in that issue. I think that we should probably have a separate one.
That's fine with me. Separate.
Okay, so those will be created and weighted. We'll get the next step on them ASAP so that we can fill this in. And scanning down, it looks like there is a weight on every other issue, which looks good. Same with N2. If we look at MVC3, these two don't have board mutations. So I got to make sure these.
About within 2, is there anything about deleting a column list?
Yeah, we are missing that as well.
Yeah,
I feel like that's probably a big one, right? Because
it should be a big one. So currently we can add a list, but we can't delete it. So yeah, maybe we should put that in MVC2, and then we can put reorder of lists in MVC3.
Okay, and then move reorder to MVC3.
I think that makes sense, because like worst comes to worst, someone could like manually reorder by deleting everything and then adding again. Not that you'd want to, but you could.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, and so we'll have that added. This one might, the other one might get punted to MVC3. Does this, looking at MVC2 at a whole, are we missing anything in terms of refactoring that needs to come in that we might be blocking? I can see there's 2 unweighted ones in this GraphQL Epic, or are there other technical issues that we would want to put into MVC2 around refactors?
Back-ended refactors kind of going per field. A lot of them are sort of some field where it has some logic in a board, pull that out to some common module and then add it to the Epic board object as well. So it just means that we can pull out shared logic, and it's been fairly straightforward, but my sense is that the heavy lifting with refactoring boards is on the front end. Back end is a bit more piecemeal, but it can be, so it's okay. And I mean, this just means that from the back end perspective, it's going to be a lot faster to do boards of other types. So, you know, like merge request boards, or I don't know, iteration boards. I don't know what other types you want. So, yeah. So that my sense here is that the back end is fairly straightforward, though there might be more hairy stuff as we approach things like labels, because anything to do with labels is always complex. It's not like labels are complex things, but yeah. So that's my sense on that. But I have to look through the bit with oh, you had it before, the labels. Yeah, so labels of things, because that's always quite complex database fields. Though it's possible that we can do another round of pulling already existing board queries into common logic, or at least reusing that logic. So I think backend's not too bad.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is there anything we're going to have to do with labels? Like, is there anything left to do with labels, Charlie?
In terms of, I think there was when you drag and drop, you know, that means that the label changes if you have a label list and stuff like that. So my sense is that it's probably already existing in the board logic, and then it just, you know, means that you abstract the type out to some things, like, oh, whatever this label is attached to, move it from this thing to that thing. And yeah, so it's going to get I mean, if we ever have mixed type boards, it's going to get interesting. But right, I think that's after we have like a unified type of things, like issuable type thing. So yeah, I think just my impression is that it's going to be okay.
What about this sidebar one that we just added? The labels live on there.
Yeah.
Would they be getting, you're saying when you drag and drop on the board, those are live updating or updating
Yeah, I mean,
once the change happens?
Yeah, so if you have something in some scope label list and then you move to a different scope label list, it's going to automatically do that update. Since we already have existing logic to do this in an issue board, I'm pretty sure we can just move that logic to Epic boards and just say that the type doesn't matter anymore. We don't say, oh, update this board. We're going to say update this thing, whatever this thing is, whether it's a board or an Epic board. We don't have to care. So it just Ruby's really nice like that. We can make things quite abstract quite easily.
Flory, is the state there? Is that in the front end or is that tracked in the back end? So like if we move something from one label to the next, from one label column to the next, and we're updating the sidebar, that just happens on the front end right now, right?
I don't, that's a good, I need to test exactly, but yeah, I think it would be handled on the Vuex state because it should be shared with the sidebar now. So,
yeah,
but I haven't tested in details. Like, honestly, I haven't done a lot of work on the sidebar, so I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it would probably, the sidebar itself would be done on the front end. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure that we implemented that in the issue board refactor.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Looking down the list, I see we've got 2 issues that aren't in 1310. That's about a weight of 5. I haven't done a count on the board, but I want to just make sure that these shouldn't be ahead of the other ones or blockers. Essentially, because they aren't in 1310, I could probably have them at the bottom of the list down here.
Yeah, they're not blockers.
Okay.
I don't think they have dependencies.
So these would be the stretch. Yeah, like if we're done early.
Is not urgent because, so what I've done for MVC1 is that I've used local storage since it's not available on the backend just yet to save it. So it's not blocking anything and there's no urgency on this one. If we wanted to descope it to MV3 for any reason, that would work as well.
Okay, so yeah, this one might punt. Same with this. If we wanted to keep them in a group and say we're going out with all of this in 1310. Do we need visiting the Epic boards from a redirect into MVC2? Or is that another candidate?
I think that's going to, as more people use Epic boards and, maybe they have a favorite Epic board or something. I think it's kind of going to feel out what that's like. And that might reveal itself to be more of a pain point. My sense is because we have a really good workaround, which is like, look at the drop down and search for your particular Epic board you want, then maybe that's not so urgent, though I might be reading that wrong.
Okay.
Would that allow like bookmarking of things too? So like I've scoped it in such a way, not a permanent scope. Okay, yeah, I feel like that's probably fairly needed because I feel like that's a workaround our users use. Not that they necessarily should need to, but they do. So.
Yeah.
Well, so think about it in the context of the personas that use Epic boards. Are those users going to have multiple Epic boards and will they go directly to the Epic board?
I do to both of those probably. I use bookmarks for everything.
Cool.
Yeah, so do I. And I don't know if it's just because I have a lot of boards that I go to within our current issue boards that whenever I want to save one, I just use a bookmark.
Yeah, I also use bookmarks for that. So.
Yeah, I'm assuming I wouldn't have as many Epic boards once I get this in. I'm really curious to play with my live epics like these ones and just like that MVC2 is now like in progress or doing, or like the ones I'm working on to author them. But this is a new workflow. I imagine I would have less epic boards than I do with issue boards.
I think that's probably true.
Because it won't be like John and Donald and Kristen creating boards, right? It'll be just Kristen usually, but yeah. But there'll still be probably multiple, I would assume.
Okay.
Why don't we move it to MVC3 for now, and then let's see how much we have in MVC2, and if it's if we think we can pull it in and get it done in a milestone along with everything else, then we'll pull it back in.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be great if we could go out with another release post saying that MVC2 adds this features and like everything in here is in 13.10. So this one also maybe into MVC3. But yeah, I don't want to overload the release either. Okay. So does this make sense with everyone's eyes on it right now for snapping a line for 13.10? And obviously if we've forgotten anything or the ones that we've already added, we'll just add to this and adapt as we go.
Great.
Yeah, all these things still require the backend mutations and queries too, right?
I think
yes, I think as I'm reading them through, I think they all do.
That means Charlie gets in and does it ahead of Flory, right? Yeah.
Yep.
To unblock. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll look at MVC3. So this really could be anything, but this will be our targeted go live with everything towards parity. Even if there's a couple stragglers, maybe we have to fast follow with, it should have 98% parity. We don't have to have perfection. So it looks like everything is mostly weighted, but we'll make sure we get the next step labels on some of these that don't have them so that we know how big this is. Right now it looks manageable. It looks similar in size to the MVC2.
Isn't like we haven't created the issues for the things that
right
are missing yet, like reordering lists and the lead list are not, it's not in there yet, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to be, it's going to be a little bit bigger for both, I think.
Yeah, so can we go through MVC3 real quick and see if there's anything there that would be, I mean, yes, ideally we get everything done in 14.0. If we were not able to deliver anything in MVC3, would that be a stopper to turning the feature flag or to defaulting the feature flag to on?
Not being able to delete things is kind of a problem. I would think like delete board is in MVC3. Creating a new epic within a list is also not great not to have, I think. Like MVC, like, I mean, it's still MVC, it's still what it means. Like there's still important things to have.
I think I'd take deleting over creating a new epic just because there's like a workaround. Again, not that it's amazing, but I'd put deleting above those.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, just because you can create a board, you also need the ability to delete it. Yeah, I agree.
So what this is a potential that we could, at the last hour, we could decide to punt the ability to create an epic.
I think, as Donald suggested in the chat as well, I think we could also remove save collapse status, since it's handled on local storage. I think it's not like this we could live without, I think, because there's a workaround.
Yeah, let's drag that one to the end.
I think it's even less important than creating an epic.
And then
creating an epic, I guess we could always cheat and do it purely on the front end. by having two separate mutations, as in creating the epic and then adding it onto the list. Like I think on issue boards, we have one mutation to do all of this, which is much faster and it's better for performances. But one workaround of creating epic into a list is that we could do it without a backend dependency if necessary.
Could we also potentially link them to the epic creation form, which wouldn't be great, but it might be preloaded with the linked parent or something like that as a
Oh,
URL
we could have
variable?
a plus button. Like instead of having the plus button adding a mini form like it is currently on issue board, it could be a button that just links out to the new epic form. Yeah, that's also a workaround. But the problem is that once we're on that page, it doesn't add it specifically to the list. Like we don't have a way.
Right.
Once we're on the new epic page, we don't have a way to link it back into the list where the user tried to create it. So I don't think that's very viable. But what I mean is that, so the solution I'm proposing is that there's no backend dependencies. Like so far, and I'm not saying that will be the case for all the rest of the issues for MVC 2 and 3, but so far it's been a little bit faster to do the front end work than the back end. So I could always be ahead on this one specifically because I could have a version without a backend dependency. So I could do that while I wait for other backend work to be done for other issues that are blocked.
I think that works.
Yeah, I think keeping it where it is as kind of the second thing to do in MVC3 is fine. So with the delete and epic board, if we're saying that that is kind of one of the things that is going to be a like showstopper from defaulting the feature flag on, should we move that to MVC2? Not saying that we have to complete it, but just so we have kind of a buffer for like a milestone buffer.
I think it's a good idea. And in that case, I would put it even, honestly, I think it's more important to be able to delete a board than it is to reorder lists, for example. I know it's not in there yet, but, or even reordering epics.
What's the downside of, I guess it would be important if you only have one board in your plan. I'm just thinking this through from, if we allow them to have one board, they'd have to delete it to be able to create another one.
No.
However, if you're unlimited,
you can have multiple boards, and you cannot delete a board if it's the last one, you cannot delete it.
If it's the last one, okay.
You just edit it.
Yeah, so I mean, you could have a lot of garbage piling up if you can't delete your boards, but that wouldn't really be the end of the world, because I could create Kristen's board V2 and just have the old ones hanging out until.
I think it could just be if people are kind of like playing around and just like creating things without realizing that could, and then want to get rid of them. And then you have to go through and kind of refine, like, let's say they're all called like product planning board, and then you have to go back and like edit all the titles and be like deprecated or whatever. It just gets kind of
agreed.
So I'm cool with putting it in MVC2 as long as it doesn't block MVC2, like it's like our stretch, and we would drag it to MVC3 if we don't get to it.
Okay.
Are we aiming, so considering we have 2 milestones, are we aiming for like MVC2 delivered in 1311, I'm guessing?
Right now it's all on 1310. There's
1310. When is
1310 all across?
When does 1310 end?
The 22nd of March.
Yeah, sorry. I thought MVC
next Monday
was going to be. Then we should probably go ahead and move some of these.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to clarify the timeline here. So 1310 finishes on the 22nd of March, which is in what, 2 weeks? That's a bit short. And then there's what, 1311 in April,
and then 14.0,
and then 14.0 in May. Is that right? Okay, so MVC2 for 1310 is not realistic in my opinion. We'll be able to get a few more, hopefully by the end, by like the 22nd of March, sure. Well, like the deadline's not the 22nd anyway in terms of like MR cutoff, so it's gonna be before that. I don't think we'll put MVC2 in there. So what I would say is like MVC2, 1311, and then MVC3, and like whatever we can get in 14.0. I think it's way more realistic in terms of timelines.
Yep, I agree with that assessment.
Yeah, I don't think we need to map the milestones to the MVCs particularly either. Like we can, whatever we get done in 1310, whether that be all of MVC1, which it's going to be, and part of MVC2, I think is fine.
I agree. It's just that I'm seeing a lot of the MVC2 issues having 1310 on them. So I thought, like, in terms of like rough, to me, it's more like a rough estimation. It's like we have like a bulk of issue we can try to get in 1311, and a bulk of issues we can get in 14.0. But I wouldn't look at them as hard deadlines, but more like, I know product needs to align with milestones. So it's just to have a rough idea of what we can get in per milestone.
Yeah.
And 1310 is not, I think there's too much in 1310 in there.
If we scan down and we look at the ones that are actually picked up and assigned, those are probably the ones that are going to be in 1310. Maybe one more, who knows, but the rest we could assume would get the 1311 label on them as soon as we kick off the next. That makes sense. And then the 14.0s will pick up down here, or any other slips from 1311.
Yeah.
Okay, did we sufficiently talk through MVC3? Donald, I know you said you wanted to go through all of it. I think we hit it all.
Well, we just need to create the extra issues that we listed in the notes of the meeting. Because currently, if we only look at the epic, it looks doable, but we're missing things. So, yeah, I think we'll have a better idea once we have all the issues in there.
That makes sense.
Sorry, if you refresh the epic tree there, I added the sort of hidden / collapsed open closed. It says do not, where is it? Do not, should be there. Oh, MVC2, yeah, there you are. Yeah. So I put it into MVC2 epic boards. Do not return hidden list contents.
Right here.
Yes. Okay. Great. Cool. So I just made that. So
yeah.
I just want to make sure that I CC'd you on it as well. So
sweet. That one definitely, we need to get weighted ASAP, any of these ones, so we know how big we're working with.
Cool. I'm happy to do that, to weight it.
Awesome.
When we get off the call. So great.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, no worries.
The other thing I wanted to mention, we kind of skipped over this one. Tracking will be important. So when we go live at the 14.0 or whenever, that we actually are counting how many of our customers start using it. So we've got this open list. The ones that I really care about for initial is created and viewed in any way, if we can get those in, just so we get on the board with the numbers and we know how many. And then we can start over the next releases, adding in more tracking that gets more specific. So these would be the same Redis counters like we have going on in other places. And then there's also a thread open on what parts of the UI specifically do we want to track from a front end side, so that we could see how many people are turning on group by, how many people are swapping a swim lane, things like that. But for our MVC and our rollout, we definitely want to just get creates and views on lock, so we can be excited when we see those numbers go up after launch. So I don't know if we should have an issue on here so that it's top of mind in the final that just says like ensure creates and views are in, or if it's okay to have them out in that separate issue. I'm asking the team what would make the most sense.
Is it under an epic right now? The one that is created, yeah.
It's just on its own, and I put it's in 1311 currently, and it's sort of aggregating the list, but I was wondering if I should just pop off the top two as like an MVC of this that would be in the other main one.
How familiar are you with adding stuff to usage ping, Charlie?
Sorry, I was doing I'm creating an issue there. What was that? Sorry, the
no
usage thing around yeah, because you have that big, we have that epic that is, well, no, I think it's actually an issue, but it's about epics. And it's just like all the different events we have for epics.
Mm-hmm.
So so you wanting to add more here? in a similar way. Yeah, board create, board view. Okay.
Yeah, like we could have assignees on these, and this could be
Okay.
in the same format, or we could
Great.
say these, or I could pop just these two off under their own issue and have them be their own issue in the rollout MVC3 so they don't get missed. And then keep going on the detail on the other one.
Yeah, I would say create an issue, because then that way it becomes part of this sort of to-do list.
Okay. I will do that. I'll put notes on these two that they're handled in the other issue, and then we'll
Great.
keep building these lists
Perfect.
and schedule them later.
Yeah, and we've just had the other usage ping, the epic creation tracking, I think, that Felipe did. That's now been merged. I merged it.
Oh, nice.
So we're ready to go on that one. So there's no
The final.
blockers as far as Product Intelligence gave us the thumbs up on that.
Sweet.
So they just did another thing where instead of a one YAML file, they have many YAML files now. So it's a slightly different format. But yeah, so that his MR can be used as a template.
Okay. Can you pop that in here, just the link to it, his MR, or
yes,
so I can see? And then I have the use case. I need to get those onto the SciSense board so we can start seeing it if that just merged.
Great. So I'll chuck that into the thing here. So tracking MR. So epic tracking MR is here. Great. There you go. It's in the agenda there.
Awesome.
Charlie, is the epic board table different than the issue board table, or are they the same, just with a different, like with a type?
Not the same, because the issue board has a lot more fields on it, but they are pretty similar. I can give you an exact thing.
I can stop sharing too if you want to share, Charlie.
Sure. Oh, what I'll look at is a split of code. But let's just take a quick squiz here at so public table.
Yeah, because the reason I asked, and I don't know if we currently track that on the issue board side, but I feel like we
don't.
might. Oh,
I don't know.
right.
Actually, I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask.
It would be great if they were the same, if we could, because then we would have parity in our numbers too.
I'm just going to do a code spot into the agenda of like, here's some issue boards. Oh, hang on. Let's make that. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't want it to be numbered.
Splot.
Okay, there we go.
That's great.
The splot is there's the board, so you can see that it's just raw. Raw. And then epic boards. Hey, boards. Okay, and boards, epic boards is smaller, but it's still okay. And then there's epic boards. So we have, we have like, our ID, and we have our, thank you.
Sorry,
whoever is adjusting the font,
me.
thank you so much for doing that. So much easier to see. So we have, boards can have a project or a group, whereas the epic boards can only have a group. And we have our timestamps, which you don't really care about. We have our name, which has a constraint on it. So so really these are the only fields here, the hide, backlog list, and close list, that are here. But like, that has a weight and a milestone and stuff like that, and iteration on the boards, but we don't have those, partially because some of those things just aren't on our epics yet. Like assignees, I know, is one of those things that's sort of in progress, and weight, well, that's on issues but not epics, so it doesn't make sense. Milestone, that's not there. So that's all kind of there's only a few things that are so I'll highlight the common stuff.
Okay, but so since they are different tables, then we wouldn't be able to get, if they are, like if we did already have that for issue boards, we wouldn't get that for free on epic boards. We're going to have to build out the usage pin stuff there.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
Cool.
Oh, hang on. I'm trying to be clever.
That helps a lot, visualizing those queries, so it makes sense. Those table definitions.
I know it's a code spot, I'm sorry.
Good.
So I'm putting project, and this other one has group, but that's just, it's like the thing that this thing is associated with, which we don't really care about beyond that it's there. It's a common stuff here. Great. So
so I'll take an action to create the mini tracking issue that has those two options, which will be our lowest level for just going live. And then the rest will be gravy afterwards. And so we'll have something when we flip the switch where we start seeing registered users using it.
Okay, great.
Does anyone have anything else before we wrap the call?
Yeah, so real quick, just, you go
go
first,
ahead.
Charlie.
No, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think it might be helpful if we go through one last time the MVC2 stuff, and if we on the front end can kind of get a feel for what you all are working on now, because right now, looking at it, every issue within MVC2 requires some backend work. So Floyd, correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially front end is blocked on the MVC2 work. So I think it would be helpful to, just so we know like when the block will be done and what we should start looking at first on the front end.
Do you want to look at those right now in real time, quick, or take it offline? Okay, let's look at them.
Okay.
So the new one that got added.
Yeah, so that one should maybe be prioritized a little bit lower in MVC2, because I don't think there's any front end work that's required after that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I was just, so you're talking about the hidden lists?
Yeah, I dragged that one to the bottom.
Yeah, so I'm actually commenting on that at the moment. There shouldn't be more front end work. It should be purely back end, so it's not blocking me.
Okay. So I'm just making this other issue. I figure if we're talking about these things, they should be at least in there. And then John will wake up to 1 million notifications. Which, yeah, it is, yeah, he has to deal with that. And I'm just CCing everyone, spotting. So anyway, it's there now. I put it into MVC3, the reordering lists.
Great.
So you can prioritize that to your,
awesome.
to your heart's desire. Right. I think that's it.
So were we going to go through which ones are blocking, Donald? Is that which ones backended are blocking?
Great.
Yeah, so I think some of these have, like you all have already started on the ones that are probably assigned to Jan. Do you know if that's right, Charlie? Are those, like, where are we at on those two? And do those make the most sense to be, like, will that free up enough? Will that free up the most front end work?
Okay, so if I can give a rough update, because I know about pretty much where everything's at. So I started the front end on Edit and Imagine an existing Epic board, but there's two blockers. There is filtering support on the back end blocking it, and there is allow labels on the create mutation, because it's the same. Like if I start putting labels on update mutation, it's also going to add it to create. It's currently not supported. So this is in progress, but it's blocked. So yeah, filtering is, I think it's in progress. And then Yanka's working on the move mutation, which will unblock drag and drop. And then everything else is basically blocked by backend work, like delete. We don't have the delete mutation, so I can't work on that. And yeah, basically everything else requires backend before I can start it on the front end. So yeah, front end is pretty blocked at the moment.
Yeah, so just because what I don't want to have happen is like we get to like at one, like we're working on everything in parallel on MVC2 on the back end. And then toward the end of MVC2 is when we start clearing everything up. But then, you know, we have essentially floor, and we can add one or two other front end engineers to help on this stuff. But like I don't want things to get pushed back. So if there's anything we can do on the back end, and then maybe this is just pinging John to see how he can prioritize some of the back end work. But like if we can start swarming on one or two of these issues, unblock them, then we can start taking on some of the front end work there. I think that'd be helpful. So I don't know if there's anything we can do now.
Right.
But it's just something to keep in mind. And maybe be helpful if and we can do it synchronous or async. But if after a couple weeks, we do something like this again, where we see where we're at as far as these issues and see if this stuff is still kind of on track to get done in MVC2 or whatnot.
I find it helpful too when you all assign yourselves, and then I could see, yeah, like back end and front end is on this one, but some of the ones, because we aren't showing the labels here either, it's hard for me to know sort of like who's got it or if it's a team effort.
Yeah.
But I know we don't want to assign them ahead of you all working on them. That wouldn't make sense on the workflow.
Yeah. So is there back-end ones that, I mean, I know Flory and I often have a back channel going where we, though I mean, we're trying to bring that into the Slack channel, the sort of more public Slack channel, where we talk about what's the most impactful thing I could do to unblock her. We generally check in a morning, and I'll say like sort of what how can I unblock you, and is there a particular, like I'm looking at this priority and thinking, okay, we'll do that. If someone else has got it, then I'm happy for them to unblock her. But if there's something that I can do to quickly unblock, I generally either if it's too much work to actually raise an MR, I'll just sort of raise something. We call it a whippy whip because it's like a work in progress. It's a work in progress. So that kind of thing. There's no assignee for that. It's more like I'll just splot some code so Flory can start front-end development, even if she can't merge it yet because she's waiting for the proper MR to get merged. I don't know if that information is useful to you or whether or not it's just Flory's unblocked and that's all you care about. It's okay if you don't care. It's more like, do you need that or would it be noise?
I think that'd be great to see.
So kind of, I guess, if we put that more into the front end or into the feature channel, then that's sort of enough of a stream of consciousness without being noisy. Cool.
Yeah, Flory, is that enough for you to, like, is there anything we can do on the front end to help?
On the front end, I don't need help on the front end because most of it's blocked. Just like the bottleneck is the back end at the moment. And I can see that there's more back end engineers picking up issues, which is great. So I'm hoping that will, like, back end will catch up. The whippy whip thing that Shelley just talked about is something that we did a lot on swim lanes because swim lanes was insanely complex. Epic boards are not, so I'm not sure that's super, it doesn't really make a big difference. Like I found so far that the front end work on Epic boards was usually pretty quick. Like most of this front end in terms of like hardcore coding, it's like half a day to a day each, and then the rest is just review. Like it takes a couple more days to go through review, but in terms of effort on the front end, they're each small enough that it's not super necessary to have those whip branches like it was necessary on swim lanes because I had a lot of things to work out, which I don't for Epic boards. So what would help the most is like getting more help on the back end, like more people doing back end issues and unblocking the front end, really.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, it's helpful that we've kind of done a lot of the GraphQL work, and I know it's different, but we've done a lot of at least the way that the structure looks like for issue boards. So you can kind of predict like how the backend, how the schema is going to look like for the most part, which is why I'm assuming that it's a little bit easier after it's done to be done. So really, like, it's just that implementation step that is taking a while. So there's not a whole lot.
It takes a while because well, the backend needs to be merged before I can submit my own front-end change. But the front-end change itself, it doesn't really take that long. It's the backend. Yeah, waiting for the backend is what's taking a while at the moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I'll post this into the channel and we'll have the kickoff so the rest of the team can also watch this and catch up, even if they watch on 2x. And then we can just have the theme be, let's unblock front end. Looks like we've already got lots of backends picking up. But we'll try to, throughout the whole team, we'll just make everyone aware. I'm sure once John catches up too, he'll get on board. And we'll just kind of have that be the theme going forward in MVC2.
Great.
Cool. Last thing, just housekeeping wise, should we move everything from 1310 into 1311 then on this list?
Everything
that's in
that's
progress, maybe.
Right. Not the ones that are already assigned.
Yeah. Like the reordering, like the drag and drop itself. Like, I don't know how much, like that depends when the backend is done. Like, so move epic between board lists, that's the backend bit. The front end is the drag and drop issue. And depending on when the backend is is finished, I don't know if that will make 1310 or not. Depends how much longer this takes. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at what, how many working days is that? 10.
Friends and Family Day too, this Friday.
Yeah, we're saying like 6 working days, maybe. It's going to take a few days to get through just on the front end after the back end's done.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, we can try to get it in 1311. I guess if there are a lot of users watching these milestones, yeah, maybe we don't want to switch it to 1311 yet. But the odds of these things,
I'm sure they're all watching it like hawks, but we could move it and get them used to the loss earlier on too. So like if you start working on this, or we know it's going to slip, let's punt it to 1310 or 1311 right now, or as soon as you talk to Yarka working here and you know for sure that it's going to be in 1311, let's just move that milestone.
Yeah, I just find it optimistic to have 1310 on this one, honestly.
Yeah,
like if it wasn't blocked tomorrow, it would probably make it. But other than that, I just don't see how that would be doable.
Yeah, let's move that one right now.
Yeah, you're right though. The ones that are assigned for now, let's keep it on 1310 because I think there are.
There's still
like
blockers though. Like even the so the edit and manage, which is assigned. There are blockers, like filtering is blocking it, and there's like fields missing on another mutation. So, but I still think it's doable, hopefully. But even then, like it is assigned, but it is actually blocked, technically.
Yeah, I just don't want to, without talking to like Jan on that one, I don't want us to move it to 1311 and then him see that it was moved and switch to something that's still in 1310 because he thinks it's a higher priority. Because I think we still have that mentality on some issues because that used to be the expectation. If something is in a milestone, that just means that we're going to start it in that milestone. So maybe we don't move it until we talk to Jan for that one specifically, to Jan and John.
Okay. And again, if we have to move these, that's fine. Let's just have that theme of unblocking front end and all hands on deck. I'm sure the rest of the team will watch this, or even maybe we could say watch at least the last 15 minutes. I could find the timestamp where we talk about unblocking. I think that would be good. But I'm assuming we'll have most of these ones that aren't assigned, just at least 1311 within the next few days. Okay. I think that was great for me to kind of get the overview. We'll see how we go with this. We may do another kickoff like this for MVC3 when we get there and we start looking at that final push and what should and shouldn't be in it. But we did do a lot today to talk that through. So I don't know that we'll see any big changes over the next release or so, but who knows?
I've added that, by the way, the preview epic in the right-hand sidebar while clicking at epic. Okay, so it's right at the bottom, just under MVC3. So I've chucked that in, but you might want to put that where you actually want it to go. I just put it into the epic. And you're going to get a million notifications, by the way, as I ping you on all
That's
these issues.
okay. It's all good. Please do. Okay. Anything else before we wrap?
Thank you so much for setting this up.
Thank all of you. It's great to hear everyone's voice and see everyone's face. I think that this release for Epic boards is going to be massive for our customers. And so I'm really excited to see it in the final stages over the next 2 releases. Go team.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to use it on GitLab.
Me too.
With our with our epics, even just the read only. Like that's all I need it for. So
we're gonna eat this dog food.
Can't wait. All right. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks all.
Bye,